morning. John 20, verse 25 says, "Unless I see his hands, the mark of the nails, and place my finger into the mark of the nails, and place my hand into his side, I will never believe." Our story today is I Will Never Believe, based on John 20, 24 to 29. Believing what we cannot see is hard. All of us are skeptics to some degree, some more than others. But there's often more going on inside a skeptic than meets the eye. And as we see in Thomas's experience, Jesus knows how to reach them. Jesus' death had been difficult and confusing for everyone. Having been welcomed into Jerusalem like a king, he was dead before the week was over. And when the shepherd was struck, the sheep scattered. Mark 14:27. But they regathered in a secret hideout in Jerusalem. On Sunday, things took a weird twist. It began with Mary Magdalene insisting that she had seen Jesus alive that morning. True, Jesus' body disappearing was admittedly strange, but still, everyone knew Jesus had really died. No one could really believe Mary's claim, except maybe John. Then later in the day, Peter announced that he had also seen Jesus alive. Now this troubled Thomas. But he figured, he could cut Peter some slack. After denying Jesus publicly, who could blame Peter for desperately wishing it to be true? He just needed time. But then Cleopas burst into the house Sunday night claiming that he had walked with Jesus to Emmaus that afternoon. What Thomas found particularly hard to believe was that Cleopas and his friend hadn't recognized Jesus the entire time until dinner, and then poof, he had just disappeared. Well, this excited everyone else, but Thomas only felt agitated. He desperately missed Jesus too, but he wasn't going to let grief make him believe bizarre things. Jesus was dead. Yet, he didn't feel like dousing everyone else unreal hope with a wet blanket of reality. They weren't ready to hear it anyway. Thomas decided he needed to clear his head with a walk by himself. So after whispering a discreet excuse to Nathanael, he managed to slip outside without being noticed. After being very careful not to betray the hideout, he covered his head and started down the empty street. The quiet was refreshing, but the walk wasn't as helpful as he had hoped. The Jesus sighting disturbed him, especially because the witnesses were credible. He knew them. They certainly weren't liars. They weren't unstable. None were given to delusions. Peter particularly was a rock of reason. Then a rush of memories from the past 3 years flowed through Thomas's mind. He had seen so many things that would have been unbelievable if he hadn't seen them. Most haunting right now was Lazarus. And Jesus had seemed to know that he was going to die in Jerusalem. He had said those strange things about death and resurrection. Suddenly, Thomas realized he was arguing with himself. His agitation really wasn't over his friend's failure to face facts. The facts, in fact, were now confusing. He was agitated because part of him actually believed Jesus was alive again. That's what Jesus had meant, wasn't it? But this frustrated the skeptic in him who took pride in being a man of common sense. A resurrection just seemed too incredible to be true. The more he thought, the less sure he became. No one knew where Jesus' body was. Those who claimed to have seen him were people he trusted. It would make sense of certain prophecies. Could it be? "Show me the body," the skeptic's side shouted. At least Lazarus could be seen and touched in Bethany by any doubter. So if Jesus was really alive, why this hide-and-seek game? Wouldn't he just show himself to them all? He'd believed Jesus was alive when he saw him. Alive. When Thomas returned to the house, 4 of his friends pounced on him. "We've seen the Lord, Thomas. It's all true. He was just with us. Where were you?" Thomas felt a surge of shocked unbelief. Then he felt regret for having left. Then he felt isolated. He was now the only one who hadn't seen Jesus. In self-pity-fueled anger, he burst out with more conviction than he felt. "Unless I see his hands and the marks of the nails, and place my finger into the marks of the nails, and place my hand into his side, I will never believe." Most of his friends were dismayed, but Peter just watched him, smiling slightly. The following 8 days were long and lonely for Thomas. His friends were gracious. No one debated him. It was, in fact, their calm confidence in Jesus' resurrection that agitated Thomas's growing conviction that he was wrong. Outside, he tried to maintain a facade of resolute intellectual skepticism. But inside, he was wrestling and melting and wanting more than anything to see Jesus too. And then it happened. Thomas was staring at the floor, sinking again under the fear that maybe Jesus had rejected him because of his stubborn unbelief. If so, he knew he deserved it. And then everyone gasped. He looked up, his heart leaped into his throat. Jesus was standing across the room from him. "Peace be with you." Verse 26. Thomas could hardly breathe. Jesus spoke to him. "Put your finger here and see my hands, and put your hand and place it in my side. Do not disbelieve, but believe." All objections and resistance in Thomas evaporated, and in tears of repentance, relief, and worship, Thomas dropped to his knees before Jesus and exclaimed, "My Lord and my God." Be patient and gracious with the skeptics in your life. Don't assume their outward confidence accurately reflects the inward condition. Keep praying for them and share what seems helpful when it seems helpful. Keep confidently and humbly following Jesus and trust his timing. He knows best how and when to reveal himself to them. Thank you for listening this morning, and have a good day.